Hi everyone. In this short video what I want to do is give you a quick overview of the editor of the new Photoshop Elements 11. As you know, the two prime modules of the program are the organizer and then the editor. So I'm starting on my desktop. I'm going to right click on Photoshop Elements 11 and then open it. Here's the welcome screen. As usual, I am going to go and start the demo in the organizer mode because that's where I always start so I can find my pictures. And I have a particular group of pictures that I call Originals 11 over here. I'm going to click on that little arrowhead like you do in version 11 to actually find those particular pictures that I've tagged with Originals 11. And here they are, and I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily pick on one of the pictures. We aren't really going to do anything to the picture right now. I'm just going to show you what the basic interface looks like. Right now we're looking at the interface of the organizer. I'm going to select this particular picture here, somewhat dark, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to now go and down here at the bottom, remember this is the new look of the organizer. Down here at the bottom, if I click on that little arrowhead down there, I can go edit in the photo editor. I have Premiere also installed, so I could edit a video or even send a group of pictures to Premiere Elements to put into ultimately into a movie. And I also have Photoshop CS6 installed, and that is why I can also go from this point and actually edit the picture in Photoshop CS6. But I'm going to go and open up the editor that comes with Elements. First time I'm opening the editor in this session, so it takes a few seconds. As you can see, a couple of things. Number one, up here at the very top, it looks, everything looks different than you're probably used to if you're using earlier versions. But up the top is where you can either go into the quick edit, the guided edit mode, or the expert mode. For the moment, I'm going to go into the expert mode. We'll come back and look at quick and guided in a minute. So we've clicked over to the expert mode. As you can see, everything's kind of different about this, and there's some kind of neat things maybe. One tip I have for you. Things like the tool option bar were always above, and most of the buttons that you wanted to click on were above. Now what I learned is if you're looking for something you can't find, look down, don't look up. Okay, well let's just kind of start off here. I'm going to start on the left hand side over here. This is the tool box that I call the toolbox. As you can see, the icons are there in two columns, and they've done a pretty good job this time of, in my opinion, of grouping them in the kinds of things that they do, like selection tools are all grouped there in their own little segment. Enhancing tools, drawing tools, and the modify tools are down below. You still have this color swatch down at the bottom. The big difference though we'll come to in just a minute. Let's go down to the very bottom here. This whole group of icons and tools or functions, whatever you want to call them, are basically at the bottom now where they were at the top. The photo bin was always down here, and right now I have the photo bin open, which means there's a thumbnail of the single picture I opened up. If you had multiple pictures open, they'd be lined up across here. If I want it to go away, there it is. And when it's away, I'm pressing Control 0, and I'm zooming in on the picture as large as I can make it without having to zoom in or out, or zoom or scroll around to actually see the entire picture. If I click again on the photo bin, it comes back. Another click and it goes away. Okay, to give you an idea of how these options down here work, let's start off with selecting a tool. As you probably know if you've used Elements before, when there are multiple tools in each position, for example, underneath the patch tool, or actually it's not the patch tool, forgive me, it's the spot healing brush or the healing brush tool, there are multiple tools underneath that position, and you knew it from earlier versions of Elements because there was a little tick mark always visible in the lower right hand corner. Now when you don't have your mouse over that particular tool, you don't know which one of these positions have multiple tools and which ones don't. But what's really nice is now if you just click down at the bottom, all the tools underneath that position are opened here. Now right now the spot healing brush is selected. These are the options for the spot healing brush. And content aware, as it came I believe in version 10 or 9, one of the two versions is there. You can use the content aware as opposed to the proximity match there. But if I click on the healing brush tool, the band-aid right next to it, these are its options. Clicking on any one of these other tools, in this particular case I clicked on the eyedropper tool, which they now call the color picker. Here you can immediately set whether you want a point sample, a 3 pixel by 3 pixel, or a 5 pixel by 5 pixel sample when you click it over a color. We aren't going to really go into what these tools do or how to use the tools in this one. Might point out just a couple of features or the way the icons look differently. They've now got a leveling tool or a straightening tool. They've always had the straightening tool, but again it looks a little bit different and its options are down here. The zoom and the hand tool, which were kind of I think near the bottom, now they're at the top. Click on the zoom tool and the various ways that you can zoom in on your picture with one click or over here on the right. Again, all of its options are here. Fill the screen, fit the screen, 1:1 or 100%, that's where you've zoomed in to where the ratio is 1 pixel per little bead or little light coming out of your monitor. It's a 1:1 ratio between those two. No sharing between pixels and light beams coming out of your monitor. But again, you can see that all the action is down here and they pop up. You don't have to worry about remembering so much. It's much easier to find the tools you want by just clicking on where you think it is and looking down here in this area for it. These other icons down here, now here is the tool options. You can see it's kind of grayed a little bit. That means that's what's being shown. Click on it again and it goes away. Click on the photo bin and it comes. Click on the tool options, they come. You can't have the photo bin and the tool options bar open at the same time, it appears. Here's your undo and redo, your rotate, and for those of you who like to customize your workspace, here's the layout icon over here, and you can change your workspace to some extent over there using that particular button. If you want to go back to the organizer, you would click on this icon over here. Now going over to the right hand side, notice that we have the layers. This is the layers. Notice it's kind of grayed here down at the bottom. There's our background layer. Here are the icons that the black and white circle, for example. You make a new adjustment layer, making a new blank layer, you would click that. Little piece of paper, and the others are pretty much the same as they were, except now they've moved up to the top of the layers palette rather than at the bottom. Again, the trash can's over here. Here it is. Here's the layers. Now if you want to see effects, there's the effects, and it has filters, styles, and effects all under this effects down here. Click on the styles, and these are the styles. Notice it still says effects, but it's the styles. Those of you that use graphics, these are the graphics. Pretty much the same. Nothing really new here, by the way. And using them has not changed at all to speak of either. Favorites, if you pick out certain effects and styles out of your favorites, that's down here. If we click on this, where it says more here, and we click on that little tiny arrowhead, by the way, you're going to have to be continuing to look for very small arrowheads. They're scattered around, and when you click on them, you can generally do more things than if you just click on the larger icon next to them. And here we've clicked on the down arrow, and notice we came up with the info palette, which you're probably familiar with, but also the navigator is accessed from there, the undo history or history, the histogram itself, the color swatches, and here's where you have actions, if those of you that use actions. So as you can see, we have virtually everything that we've had before along these lines, but now we have to look towards the bottom. The menu bar at the top is pretty much the same. If you go over to Enhance, for example, you can start all your enhancing of your pictures. It's pretty identical to previous versions. Starting over here at File, a little more logical where I'm going with what I'm talking about. Pretty much the same, everything's the same there. Edit, pretty much the same thing there. Image, Enhance, Layers, all these are pretty much the same. Select, Filter, pretty much the same. View, pretty much the same in terms of what's offered in the downward pointing menu or the pop-up menu. Same way with Windows and Help. And I wanted to show you something. I think I missed it. Oh, here. I believe they moved photo merge. All the merging you have, the panoramas, the group shots, faces, scene cleaner, exposure, and style match. This whole photo merge, I believe, has been moved over from, I believe it was under Edit, but I'm not positive. Point is, it's now underneath Enhance, which makes a little bit more sense. So as you can see, you got to look somewhere different, but it won't, in my opinion, it won't take you too long if you've been using the editor in earlier versions of Elements to come up to speed with this editor. Let's go now to the quick edit mode. And it does look substantially different. I've just zoomed out again on my picture. You do have a few tools here on the left like you did before. And let me just click on one. And again, the same way. Its options are down here. This toothbrush, whiten teeth, text tool, spot healing brush, the crop tool. Again, all their options are down here, pretty much the same way it was within version 10 and earlier versions. Here we have the quick selection tool and how to set it. Its options down here. Over on the right is where most of the changes are, at least their look. I don't think they're really doing a whole lot different. Up there at the top, Smart Fix. Oh, look at that. I came over here with some layers, so it didn't really like that. Well, let's see. Let's quickly get rid of those layers. You can't work with layers in the quick fix, or at least on an empty or a non-picture layer. So I'm going to click OK here. Go back to the expert mode so I can see the layers. Right now I'm looking at the graphic, so I've got to go back here to the bottom right. Click there. Oh yes, I was on layer 1, an empty layer, because of what I was showing you, and so obviously Quick Fix did not know what to do. So I'm going to just delete that layer, drag it through the trash can, go back here to Quick, and now maybe Smart Fix will be able to do something a little better. Oh yes. Okay, so I can either do Auto Smart Fix, which I'll try. Remember, Auto Smart Fix tries to clean up the brightness and contrast, color, and actually does a little bit of sharpening. It tries to do everything. You also have some kind of like the old variations tool, or actually the variations tool is still in Elements, where you can click on these icons here, and with one click you apply different levels of Smart Fix, and you can see that bouncing ball on the slider up above. And we have exposure. Pretty much the same idea on exposure. Levels, pretty much the same idea. Auto levels down here if you choose to use it. Color, saturation, hue, and vibrance. I can't remember, frankly, whether vibrance was available in Quick Fix before. I think it was. But that is really, I like to use that much more often than I do saturation anymore. And again, you can choose these levels here, or these icons here, to adjust various levels of saturation in this case, or the hue if we click over there. And you can see the picture change just as I move my mouse over them. Color balance itself deals with temperature and tint, just like the old Quick Fix. And then you have sharpening down here at the bottom. And we can hide that panel or open the panel up. Okay, we've looked at the expert mode, we've looked at the quick editing mode. The guided editing mode this has been where they've done a few things. Mostly what they've done is they've added a couple of new guided edits, but what they've done to all of them is, in my opinion, they have improved the instructions for things like Lomo, I think, is when they had. This is a better set of instructions than in earlier ones. And especially, I believe it's the out of bounds one that's always been there. They've also added a couple. I believe, where is it here? Scratches, blemishes, sharpen. These are all pretty much the same. It's these photo effects. Notice there's a scroll bar here that I gotta scroll down further. Depth of field was always there. I think high key and low key are new. This is a typical high key and low key photograph. If you move your mouse over it or away from it, there's the after. Put it over it, there's the before. And instructions on how to apply it. Same way with low key. Where is the low key? Here is the low key. After, before, after, before. You can see that changing as I move. And again, a good set of instructions relative to where they had before. Obviously, the whole color scheme has gone to a light gray. Line drawing, I believe, has been improved or added. I can't quite remember. Should have looked that up before doing this. Tilt shift, definitely brand new. Take a look at what you have there. This is the before. That's the after. Kind of gives you, when you're looking down on a city or something, almost looks like it's a little toy city. And you got tilt and shift in there. So that's brand new. Orton, I think, is new. Kind of a dreamy look with some adjustments and instructions. Vignette, I think, is the same. Going all the way down to the bottom here. Out of bounds, maybe not new, but I believe how it works and the instructions they give you have been improved. Kind of that's the effect. Here's your normal picture, and you kind of make a special effect like his legs coming out of the picture in this case. Reflection, I think, is earlier. Pop art's always been there. Picture stack's pretty much the same. So that is pretty much what you don't see in the guided edit. For those of you that use actions that were initially written in Photoshop but are compatible with Photoshop Elements, actions used to be inside the the guided edit workspace. No longer are they there necessarily. Okay, well, as you can see, it is quite a bit different, but I really don't think that anybody that has been using the editor in Photoshop Elements will have a lot of trouble coming up to speed. You may not like it as well, but I haven't heard of anything that was really taken away. I do believe that those of you that may be using brushes a lot and customizing your brushes and adding custom brushes from other, like you download or whatever, a new brush to work with scrapbooking effects and that sort of thing. I believe they've improved the brush management capabilities in version 11 relative to version 10 and earlier versions. So that's pretty much it. That other video that you might have seen where I talk about the organizer of Photoshop Elements, that was a lot more difficult for me to come up to speed on and how it works, and I'm still not really got a real nice smooth workflow for a couple of the things that I like to do with an organizer. But all in all, the editor, as I said, is new, and I don't think you'll have much trouble with it. You may even like it a lot, and I think underneath the scenes there is some improved tools, and when I say underneath, the mathematics on a couple things, which, by the way, I think I'm going to go back to the organizer very quickly here. One of the improvements that I think is worth it, I won't be able to really show you, but I at least want to show you a little bit about it. Somewhere in here, okay, here is a raw image. This is a raw image taken with my camera, and as you know, when you open up a raw image inside Elements, you go into Adobe Camera Raw, that Elements or Adobe calls its editing. Notice the version of Adobe Camera Raw is version 7.1 and a bunch of other numbers. This is the same version of Adobe Camera Raw that is in Photoshop CS6 and Lightroom 4. Photoshop CS5 and Lightroom 3 does not have this version of Adobe Camera Raw and cannot upgrade to it. Granted, the Adobe Camera Raw as implemented inside Photoshop Elements is a reduced subset of tools up here on the top bar relative to what is in C6, as you would expect. But it is using the underlying mathematics that are used to manipulate your photograph. And the process is, they call it process 2012, and it actually includes that process. And if you open up a raw image that was processed in the earlier versions of Adobe Camera Raw, you will see a little icon allowing you to upgrade or redo it in the 2012 process. And I have read where many people are just going back and reprocessing their raw images just to process them in the 2012 process because it's an improved process. The other main thing you will notice that over here, highlights and shadows is just like in Adobe Camera Raw as you see it in Photoshop CS6. These two words have been changed. The scales have been all centered, as you can see here along the line here, rather than in the one was offset. I think shadows was always increased by 25% or something like that. The point is, though, this all incorporates Adobe Camera Raw version 7 improvements. You get that when you buy Photoshop Elements 11. You can't upgrade version 10 to get this same version of Adobe Camera Raw. Okay, that pretty much concludes. Sorry for the stumbling around I'm doing. Probably should have rehearsed a bit more, but I do like to do these videos more or less on the fly and think of things as I'm talking. So I hope you got something out of watching the video, and you'll look for other videos from me in the future, wherever you happen to see this, whether it was on YouTube or from my website, www.donsdigitalphotocorner.com, or maybe from my blog. But at any rate, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope to help a bit, and look for future videos and other tutorials using the new Photoshop version 11. Thanks for watching.